Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to You as a Whole, Body, Mind, and Soul. My name is Justin MIRIGLIANI. I'm your host. I'm glad to be here today on USA Global TV and Radio. So good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world right now. Welcome. And anybody who would like to join us in the chat, please do. I would love to hear your thoughts on what we're going to talk about today. And I know that we didn't really put up a topic, but the topic for today is working with people, getting to know people in their totality. We are about to go through a very traumatic week this week in the U.S. There's no doubt about that. There are going to be tens of millions of people who are going to be happy, and there are going to be tens of millions of people who are going to be unhappy. Either way, no matter how the election goes. And obviously, it's been very contentious through really the last, decade or so. And if you look back, about a decade of really strong opinions going back and forth, people fighting, especially with social media. It was easier. And I'll tell you that I was one of the worst offenders. It is very difficult for me to have an ideology and not fight for it. It's tough. And it's has been. It's getting easier as I get older and wiser and calmer. It was very easy for me to I don't want to say shout down, but certainly fight and argue and try to make points, and it grew into agitation, and then sometimes it would grow into an obsession where you wanted to get your point across, and you would see those little circles and you couldn't wait for that other person to finish typing so you could see what they said so you could respond real quick. And I think we still do that. I don't do that anymore, but I think we do that. I've posted one political, or actually two political posts in the last year. And in the last election cycle back in 2020, I actually had a website that was a political website, and I ran that political website, worked on it every day, did tremendous amounts of research, built the website, updated the website, had links to other websites that were, of course, in agreement with mine, and certainly I could never say that any one person swings an election. I don't think that that's possible, that one person, but each person doing things swings an election. So, it's the 10 votes that you change somebody's mind to your side. It's the 20 votes that change because of your side, whatever side that is. And again, I'm not making this political, but as people do that, we all collectively do have the ability to change the election. We can't do it on our own. We do it as a group. So I felt a duty to do my part, to do what I thought was right. And fighting for what's right, it is at times noble. What we have gotten away from, I think, is looking at people, as I have been saying on Facebook, in their totality. That we're looking at people as one side of the spectrum or the other. And we don't think about necessarily what that other person is to us beyond just what they believe um, ideologically. And it is hard, but it's something that I think we all need to work on. And I think more than ever now. Um, I remember back in 2015, I had surgery. I've been very open about my surgery. I had ulcerative colitis for 12 years, and then in 2015, I had surgery to remove my colon. Um, and I was fitted for an ileostomy. And glad to say I had a checkup today. Everything went well. It's looking good, so I'm happy about that. But I remember the that night before, and that's a kind of a terrifying night before you're going into a major surgery that's going to change your body tremendously. And I remember the people who called. In particular, I remember one person who called, my friend Louie. And Louie and I are completely on the opposite end of the political spectrum, completely different. He even ran for office. I've never run for office, and really am not interested in getting into politics to that level. But he ran for office, and ideologically, we're so far apart. But we can't, and I don't, and he doesn't let that affect our relationship as friends, as guys who grew up together, as guys who care about each other. He comes to my charity events when we do the Checkmates games and helps out. But particularly, I remember that night him calling my cell phone, and I was in the hotel room near the hospital, and just it felt good to know that somebody was there to talk to me, and somebody cared. And there are a lot of friends like that. If I had a guess, I probably have as many friends that agree with my views as I do friends who don't agree with my views. It's probably split down the middle. I have family members who have views that are completely different from mine. That now what's been happening that I've seen over the years, and I let this happen to me, was I lost a lot of friends, and I lost not necessarily family. Family, I think we've always been able to get by that, but friends, where we let the anger and we let the frustration become so intense that it was impossible to maintain a relationship and move forward. There was just too much animosity. I think in life we have to weigh things. What is worth fighting for? So I made a conscious decision that I have to look at people in their totality. That when people do things or say things that I find either offensive, repugnant, um, anger provoking, however you want to say it, I try now to think about them in their totality. What else do they do besides what I just read or what I just saw? And there are things that I see on social media that still get me angry. And I think, how could somebody say something so either racist or um, homophobic or anti-Semitic, or and they might not even think they did. They might think what they posted was completely fine. And I look at it and I'm disgusted by it, and I am angry, and I want to lash out. The feeling is still there. The feeling is still inside. It doesn't go away. But what has changed is how I react to it. I've been watching a lot of podcasts about I can't remember the full name. It's called the Stoic something. I can't remember what it is. I'll remember for the next show. But I watch it every night, every single night. When I go to bed, I put it on and I listen to it, and they're like 3 hours each, and I fall asleep to them. But it talks about how you have to control your emotions, and it's something that I wasn't really great at for a long time. I've had spurts in my life where I really was in control of my emotions, and other times where I wasn't. And really, for the last few years, I would say I wasn't in good control. I was angry. I was depressed. I went through, as we've talked about in other shows, periods of um, depression, anxiety, just not feeling well. And then there would be little times where my head would come above water, and I think I've turned the corner, and only to just get knocked down again and back in. And now, over the last few months, I've really turned the corner, and part of it is medication, which helps, but and psychotherapy. But this podcast that I listen to has really helped me a lot, um, to really decide how do I want to live my life? Do I want to fight constantly, or do I want to pick my battles? Do I want to be angry, or do I want to let things go? It's not a matter of always having to win. Um, it's a trade-off. Some people are. What do you do if you are a liberal person and your child really, really loves a certain chicken restaurant that is very conservative? Now you have a choice. You could choose to not go there, because you could say, well, I'm not going to support that company because they don't hold the values that I hold dear. But then at the same time, you're disappointing your child. So then you have a decision to make. What do you do? Do you make the moral decision and stand up politically with your ideology, or do you look at your kid and say, that's what they want, and I'm going to do that for them. I'm going to suck it up and do that for them. And I'm not saying the answer is easy. I'm not saying that it's something that you can just decide simply, but it's something that I've been working on myself for the last few years, and that's why I haven't made any political posts, or like I said, maybe two over the last 4 years, really. Um, so I backed off tremendously. It's a 180-degree shift, really. People who unfriended me back then would not recognize me now online because of how different I am, in just the way I interact with people, just the way I talk to people, because I made a conscious decision. It wasn't something that happened overnight, but it was something that I just kept thinking about. Is it worth losing friends over? Is it worth losing family over? Is it worth um, memories with people? And where do you draw the line? You have to look at people again in their totality. And that's for good or for bad. I mean, that there's no doubt about it that there are good people, very good people, who do some very questionable things, and do things that you would kind of roll your eyes and say, man, that's really not something that I would do. That's something that really goes against the grain for me. And then there are really terrible people who have lived on this earth who have done something nice for someone. So you have to look at them in their totality. I don't think anybody would disagree that Adolf Hitler was a horrible person. I mean, I really would be shocked if that offended someone, if I say that. And if I do, that's to me on them, to be honest with you. But he liked dogs. So he had a dog, pet dog. I've read that he loved and he took care of the dog. So he was an animal lover. So did he have a good quality? Yeah. Okay, he had a good quality. Does that discount what he did as far as killing 6 million Jews? Not even close. So in totality, he's a horrible human being. He's as evil as it gets. So on the other side of that, you could have a friend. I've had friends who have done things that I look at and think, man, this is just a terrible thing. This is something that's not right. Whether it's cheated in a relationship, I don't agree with that. I don't. I think if you're in a committed relationship, you don't cheat. You just don't. Whether it's a dating relationship or a married relationship, to me, that if it's a commitment, then you honor the commitment or you let them know and part ways, but you don't cheat. But that doesn't mean that I want to throw them away as a friend or say that they're no good anymore or none of the good times matter or the good things that they've done in their life don't mean anything just because they did that thing that I find to be repugnant. So I think we need more of that now. I think we have to look at people again in their totality. And sometimes, it's right down the middle. There are people who straddle the line where they're good at some things and they're not so good at other things, and it's very difficult. But I think the more that we look at people in their totality, most people are good people. I really don't think most people are malicious. I think most people are generally kind. I mean, if you get two people in a bar and they're talking sports and they don't talk politics at all, and they're a fan of the sports team, they're going to enjoy themselves. They're going to have a good time. They're going to sit there. They're going to talk about the game. They're going to high five each other. They're going to drink a beer together. They're going to do all these things that friends do. But these same two people, if you put them in a room and you talked about things that they totally disagree on, they might be at each other's throats. They might fist fight. They might not talk to each other ever again. And I guess you have to make the decision what's worth it. Is it worth it? Is your ideology, is your stance worth the loss of a person out of your life? Now, for in some cases it might be, and in other cases it's not. It might be somebody you've loved all your life that you grew up with. Could be a family member, could be a friend for 40 years. I'm 49, so I have friends that are over 40 years of friendship. Or I almost said kids because sometimes it seems like it's yesterday, but when I went to college, people that I went to college with have totally different views than I have or that the college had. I was more in line with what we were taught in college versus some other folks who have decided not to. Now, did that cause friction at times 4 years ago and beyond, 5, 6, 7 years ago? Yeah, it did. It caused a lot of friction and a lot of insults were hurled back and forth, me included. I threw them out there and they were thrown back and there were fights and there was anger and there were hours wasted on Facebook that shouldn't have been wasted on Facebook. But I think, you live and you learn. And these are people that if push came to shove, they'll be there for you. And they know that I would be there for them if push came to shove. if they needed something, if they were sick, if they were down and they were out and they needed somebody to pick them up, they know that it wouldn't matter. All the insults and everything would kind of just disappear and go away. And the important thing is the caring about each other is what would be most prominent. And that's what would keep the relationship together. Uh, Now, look, I have friends who are where I was years ago. Right now, they're still at that level, or they're younger than me, and they're at that level, and or even older too, to be honest, where they can't do that. If somebody disagrees with their ideology, or um, doesn't agree with their views on most things, then they totally cut them off, and that's it. The relationship's over. I'm not saying that that's the wrong decision, but it's a tough one because there is a loss there. You're still losing somebody. You're still, you know, so before you make that decision, before you decide I'm going to cut this person out of my life, look at them in their totality. What did they stand for? I think we see this even in the Bible. If you look, there are plenty of contradictions if you read the Bible. If even you don't even have to read the Bible to see them. I mean, there are some that are out even in memes that are on Facebook or social media. And for me personally, when somebody says something that, well, Jesus said this, and it's in the Bible that Jesus said this, and then there's another verse where Jesus said something else that was completely different than that. Like, one I could think of is hate your mother, hate your father. What does that mean? Now, the contradiction is one of the commandments is honor thy father and thy mother. So, how do you know which one he meant, right? How do you know which one to believe? How do you know which one? Well, you look at him in his totality. What was he about? He was about peace. He was about love. He was about bringing people together. Hate wasn't a part of him. That wasn't what he was. It was all about love. It was all about peace. It was all about forgiveness. He looked, you got to look, in my opinion, at, in this case, Jesus in his totality, to know what he actually meant when he said things, and what things might have been misquoted or might have been taken out of context. You got to look at him in his totality. And I think we don't do that enough with each other either. And again, tomorrow night, and I don't think it's going to be known tomorrow night. In my opinion, I think it's going to go on, and it will probably be Friday or Saturday before we find out who won. I think at least that's what it seems like from the polls. Folks from other countries might not realize that, or maybe they do. I don't know how close they follow. If you're living in another country, I know you follow our politics here in the U.S. a little bit, but it's razor thin. It's a very tight race, and it could go either way. There are going to be very many happy people this week, and there are going to be very many angry, sad people this week. There's no doubt about it. And it's almost half and half. It's almost half the country that are going to be upset, and another half that's going to be happy. So, instead of win or lose, whatever it is, whatever your side is, instead of celebrating and bragging about it, and puffing your chest out about it, and rubbing in people's faces, maybe think twice about doing that. Maybe say to yourself, you know what, look, my candidate won. That's what happened. Consequences will take care of themselves. I have to live with it. I don't have control over it. I can't change it. You voted, you did your duty, you voted for who you wanted to vote for, and either your candidate wins or your candidate loses. I'm not saying that you can't be disappointed or feel angry or depressed or anything like that. But and they talk about the mafia. I'm Italian and I'm from Philadelphia, and the mafia. A lot of people know what whack means. Whack means that the mafia is going to kill you. They're going to whack somebody. So if somebody in the mafia gets out of line, they get whacked, and that means they get killed somehow, whether they get shot or blown up in a car or whatever it is. Well, I've seen people, and they use this term on Facebook too. Some of you might know this term, somebody getting whacked on Facebook, which means you're unfriended and blocked. And there's going to be a lot of that, I think, this week. But you got to ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is that what you want to do? Do you really want to block like 10, 15, 20 people out of anger and then never talk to them again? You got one shot at this life, right? One shot. You go around this earth one time and that's it. And you don't get another one. And the people in your life that matter, do you want to take the chance of losing them forever and holding on to grudges and old hurts and even new hurts? I'm not saying you could always forget. It's not easy to forget. And sometimes it's not easy to forgive either. Sometimes you have to just kind of suck it up and just go with it. But I can't tell you what to do. I can't, I would never say that anything that I say in any show. And when I teach my computer classes, I say the same thing. I can't tell you what to do. I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't think. I can tell you what I think. I can tell you how I feel. I can share the way I look at it. At the end of the day, you got to decide what's best for you. When I teach my classes, for instance, when you're using Microsoft Excel, which I've been teaching for 25 years, someone will say to me, isn't there another way that you could copy and paste? Because I'll teach using the ribbon at the top of the screen, and I'll have them copy and paste using the ribbon, which is the conventional way to do it. But yeah, I mean, you can right click copy, right click paste, sure. Or you could use Control C on the keyboard to copy and Control V to paste. That works too. Does that mean one of them's right and one of them's wrong? Or out of the 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 ways to do things, one is right and the other ones are wrong? No, they're all right. They all work. At the end of the day, they get the job done. It's just, what way do you want to do it? I'm just here tonight, the night before probably the most contentious election that we've ever had, which was last election. Now this one will top it. This one will be more contentious and more anger and more hostility. I'm just saying, the night before this election, think to yourself, what do you want to do if you don't win? What do you want to do if you don't get your way? I made mistakes, in my opinion, because I let my anger make decisions for me. So if when my candidate did or did not win, or in one of the cases lost, the next day I was breathing fire. I was pretty angry, and I wasn't taking anything from anyone. And if somebody posted anything that was snide or that was condescending or that rubbed the salt in the wounds, I reacted harshly. And all that did really was cost me friends who then blocked me or unfriended me, or both, and even a family member, a cousin who probably to this day wouldn't talk to me anymore. And looking back, was it worth it? No, it wasn't worth it, in my opinion. Now, I see people post all the time. I have friends who post this and they say, well, I stopped talking to so and so because, they follow this person and I can't tolerate that. And I don't care. I don't want them in my life anymore. Again, I'm not telling you one way's right or one way's wrong. You're gonna have to decide that for yourself. And you shouldn't make decisions based solely on what somebody says, whether they're on a TV show or whether they're on a radio or whether they're on a stage or whatever it is. You have to make your own decisions. You have to form your own ideas of what's right, what's wrong, what's good for you, what's not good for you. And that's part of what this podcast, again, I wish I could remember the name. It's Stoic something. I can't remember if you go on YouTube and you type in Stoic, it'll probably come up, and it's just a narration, and it's text, and it talks about so many different things in life. I mean, how to get through life, how to make decisions, how to live, how to not allow fear to stop you from doing what you need to do. How putting things off is so easy for us. And I'm a victim of it too. I'm not coming to you as somebody who's perfect at this stuff. That's another thing that people think too. When someone's on TV or in front of the room and they have the microphone, that they are an expert or they're a genius or they have all the answers. Now they may be an expert, but that doesn't mean they have all the answers. I'm an Excel expert based on testing. If that's a fact, it's not. I took the expert test and passed the expert test, so I would be considered an Excel expert. Now, does that mean I know everything there is to know in Microsoft Excel? No, I don't. I don't know everything. And does that mean that my way of doing things is better than your way? If you know a way that's different than mine, again, Control C if you want to copy, or right click if you want to copy. Is it better or worse? No, it's not better or worse. It's different. You know. But we gotta, make decisions on our own. We have to decide what is important to us, what makes the most sense, and not everybody's going to agree with it. Not everyone's going to agree. And when you go, especially in college and philosophy classes, you have so many questions. Like I remember, the philosophy question again with Hitler. The question was, if you had a crystal ball and you were able to see ahead, would you shoot baby Hitler? Would you shoot a baby, knowing what that baby was going to grow up into? And half the class said, yeah, because that would save so many Jewish babies and Jewish people. Absolutely. Another would say, but you can't shoot a baby. It's a baby. It's just born. You can't do that. It's an innocent baby right now. But you got a crystal ball and you can see into the future. So who's right? And how do you tell somebody who on each side who's right and who's wrong? And that's where we have a problem. So Rachel just called in again. So Rachel, thank you again. I know you were here last week. So and Antoinette's there too. Great. And thank you for the update on for the congratulations on my appointment. Yeah, it went well. Yeah, it went well. My health is good. So you have two issues with not expressing myself because I'll be unfriended. Okay. So what are those issues? I also feel helpless when some people clearly are posting incorrect information and you get very aggressive response. Look at the adversity Jesus faced and how he handled it. You make a great point. You make a really great point, Rachel. Rachel and I have been friends for a long time. I've known her since we were 16 years old. And very, very good person, somebody who's very thoughtful, caring. Um, I've heard friends say to me when I pointed out that they put something on the internet that was untrue, that wasn't right. And I pointed out to them that it was untrue. And I've had friends actually agree with me and say, you're right, it is untrue, but it's my right to post something that's untrue. Now, I disagree with that. I think that that's a terrible thing to do. That drives me crazy. Now, I'm not going to fight with them about it. I'm not going to unfriend them. But I might say, well, that's a shame that I might let them know, do you feel good about yourself for doing that? Now, have I ever posted something that was wrong on the internet? Have I ever been tricked like anybody else and posted something that was incorrect and something that was non-factual? Yeah. But you know what I did? I took it down and posted that it was incorrect because I don't have to, but I want to. I did it because I felt like I should do it. So what Rachel's saying is right. It is frustrating. It is hard when people do knowingly put incorrect information on the internet, and or get information from very, very dubious sources. Jenny McCarthy, the Playboy model and actress, I guess. I don't know what else she did, but is anti-vax. She's not a scientist. She's not a scientist. So how do you look at somebody who doesn't have a scientific background and take their opinion over the vast number of scientists who agree on certain things like vaccinations? The vaccination and autistic thing is disproven. It's not true. And even the doctor, and I can't remember his name because I would call him out. I have no problem doing that. And I just don't remember his name. He admitted that he made up the data, that the data wasn't true. Now, do I have friends that still believe that they shouldn't vaccinate their kids? Yes. They tell me vaccines cause autism. The facts don't bear that out. And I think it's a terrible thing to do, especially if you're a doctor, but even as a layperson, to put things on the internet that could be potentially harmful to other people, cost them money. Dr. Grundy, I'm sorry, I can't remember his first name. He came up with the first artificial heart. That's great. Did a wonderful thing. Artificial heart saved lives. But now he's hawking all kinds of snake oil and saying, I'll give you an example. He was just on a show with the doctor, and they were talking about what's healthy and what's not healthy. And he said grapes are not healthy. He said they're sugar bombs. That's what he called them, sugar bombs. Okay, grapes are sugar bombs. And the doctor said, well, what would you rather do? Give grapes to a child, or would you rather give them a candy bar? And he said, doesn't make any difference. That's crazy. It does make a difference. Fruit versus candy, fruit is healthier 100% of the time, unless it's full of pesticide. But otherwise, fruit is healthier than a candy bar. Would you feed your child a candy bar for breakfast or fruit for breakfast? I think most people know that it's healthier to feed them fruit. So it bothers me when people who know better, and he knows better, he's doing it because he wants to sell whatever he's selling. He wants to be controversial. Some people believe if they go against the grain, if they do things that are a little off, they'll be more popular. So that's just the way it is. Now, we do have to end the show early tonight, so I want to wrap things up, but I want to thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it. We're going to end with the outro of the game, the Checkmates game coming up in August of 2025. So stay tuned for that, and I will see you next week.
Hey everybody, I just want to tell you how thankful I am that you came out tonight and helped us out on a very special evening. and colitis are terrible diseases, and they affect a lot of people, not only in the Delaware Valley, but all over the world. And hopefully we can find a cure someday.
Lou Nolan here with you at the Checkmates versus the Flyers alumni. We had a great time this afternoon. Game was close, and we're all here for Checkmates Charities, which is the real reason that everybody's here, not only the players, but all the fans that were here. It was a great day, and we're really happy to be here.
It was fun to be out here at the Northeast Skate Zone because the Checos were a pretty good team, and so we had a lot of fun with the charity. And it was good because they took it easy on us old guys. So we had a good time. So anytime you can do something for charity, and I know a couple guys on the other team, and just be on the rink, we all go have fun.
Good times go. I'm either gone in an instant or here to the bitter end. I never know what I got.
I want to thank my family for all that they did to help me get through this, and there's a lot of planning that gets done. It has to get done. I want to thank Nick's Roast Beef and Common Avenue for all they've done. Dr. Prieto for saving my life, finding the disease and treating me for so long, and the Flyers organization for all they do to help us raise money every year. So thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.